Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
Wow, is my camera blurry?
I noticed that.
I got to figure something out here. What is going on? Look at this. It's just blurry. I look like I'm on like public access cable or something. That's terrible.
You look like you're on direct. You look like you're on Direct TV, kid.
That's right.
No, Direct TV has better pictures.
Oh,
cut it out. Comcast rules.
Comcast. Oh my goodness. Hey, by the way, we're live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter podcast, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, of course, we talk about it here. And if you haven't figured it out yet, my name is Eric Lorta, and I'm here with my co-host, Ringside Robert, and England's adopted son, Joe Habib, who has a great camera, by the way. And we have a great show for you, too, tonight. If you want to call and ask questions, you can call in right now at 323-870-3857. I guess we'll be here till about 9 o'clock tonight. And today, we're going to talk about the PBC has released their schedule for the new year, and we have all the details. Floyd Mayweather looks like a fool once again. But first, we get started with ESPN at midnight. Beeb, what did you think of this being at midnight?
I'm going to be honest with you. I fell asleep and I had to watch it the next day. We had this discussion about these fights being broadcast too late. The ones that are on Showtime, the ones that are on ESPN, the ones that are on regular television. And the beauty about the app is they get these fights on at a reasonable time. They were in prime time. They're on at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, some of them, and you're able to watch them live without falling asleep. That's the beauty of it. I just after a day of working out, going to the gym, running errands, doing what I got to do, coming home, sit down and watch fights, and then 12 o'clock rolls around, man, and I start dozing off. There's nothing I can do about it, man. There's nothing I can do about it.
Now Showtime, they had their card at 9:30.
Which nobody watched because it wasn't a great card. So,
right.
Those Showbox cards, I tell you what, those Showbox cards, they're like the Golden Boy cards. I mean, listen, I know a lot of champions come from there and everything, and they're with upstarts and everything. I just can't get into them, man.
And can't. Everyone needs to start somewhere, and you got to build fighters. But it's just not always entertaining to watch a guy just walk through another guy. It's like child abuse. You know what I'm saying? I take no pleasure in watching something like that. I really don't.
Overall, I've enjoyed the Showbox series. Over the years, I've watched it, but you are right. The past few cards have not been.
Yeah. I like when they put two up and coming guys that are at a crossroads, and both guys will put their undefeated records on the line. I like those types of fights, but I'm not a big fan of those squash matches they put on a lot of times.
No. And that's typically what they're doing now. I mean,
yeah, and I don't understand it because I like their original platform. I've thoroughly enjoyed that series overall. I mean, the three guys that do it, they do a good job. They talk about the fight. They tell you the background on the fighters, and meanwhile they call good fights. But recently, I don't know who the promoters are, but they've given the Showbox people, crappy stuff to deal with. And, that's what it's been lately. But overall, because it's been on TV for like 17 or 18 years, and they've done a real good job overall. They've had over 70 champions go through there. I think over 50 or 60 former Olympians have gone through there. Overall, it's been a decent series, but lately, not so much.
Yeah. I can't get into it. It's like those Golden Boy cards on like Thursday or Friday or whenever they come on.
Yeah.
It's just unwatchable.
They're now moving to DAZN, so.
Well, I'll be sure really not to watch them then. All right, so let's talk about this ESPN card. It debuted at midnight here on the East Coast. Maurice Hooker versus Alex Saucedo for the WBO Junior Lightweight Championship. Maurice Hooker wins via 7th round TKO over Alex Saucedo. This was a good fight, man.
Awesome.
Went back and forth. I was shocked. I wasn't expecting much, man. And I'm like Beeb, where I caught it the next day because I heard so much buzz about this.
Yeah, it was a good fight.
it looked like Saucedo was going to be too much early on. He put Hooker on the deck, and I guess in the second round. And hey, give Maurice Hooker credit, man. He came back, made the adjustments, and took him out of there, man. Cut him and everything like that, and took him out. It looked like the counter punching really got to Saucedo. He was pressing the action, but he was just getting caught. You know what I mean? Yeah. What did you think of the fight, Beeb?
Well, the thing was, Saucedo was very aggressive early on, and he was able to close the gap a little bit. And Maurice Hooker is a tall, lanky guy. He's got an 80-inch reach, and he's a very versatile fighter. He's very well-rounded, but obviously he's at his best when he's creating space. And Saucedo is 5'10". He's got a 72-inch reach. He's decently sized as well, but he fights small because he likes to get inside, and he likes to crank those short shots on the inside and go to the body a lot. And in the second round, both guys threw right hands, but Saucedo's was a little straighter, and it was a little bit more accurate and high up and right on the point of the chin. And Hooker's kind of swerved off path a little bit, and his didn't get there in time. But as the fight wore on, you saw that Hooker was creating space, but he was making subtle movements side to side. So he's fighting in a tight circle. He was utilizing his range and length perfectly because he wasn't moving too far out where he couldn't, keep a glove on Saucedo. And once he started doing that, Saucedo kept coming forward. But, I thought Hooker started getting the range, started getting the timing down, and he was turning Saucedo. And Saucedo had to keep following Hooker, and Hooker was making him run into that jab. And a beautiful adjustment that Hooker made was he saw that Saucedo was coming in with the jab, but he was getting low, trying to get inside, trying to go to the body, try to throw the short shots up close. So Saucedo would throw the jab, he would kind of get low and try to slide into their body shots. And what Hooker did was he would throw his right hand over the top. So instead of throwing it straight like he was doing early on and not really landing it effectively, he started noticing Saucedo was trying to sit down on his shots a little bit, jab, and then sit down and try to slide in and go to the body. And as he was doing that, Hooker was timing him. He was timing his jab, and then he was picking up on the fact that he got low a little bit, and then he just started throwing the right hand over the top, and he was landing like on the forehead temple area, and he was having success doing that, as you said, countering as Saucedo tried to come in on him. He would catch him as he was coming in. And there were some points in the fight where Hooker was up against the ropes, kind of playing the rope-a-dope, and his corner was like, why are you doing that? But I think, like I said, Hooker was seeing that Saucedo was using a lot of energy trying to pin him down. And I got the sense that, he saw that Saucedo was breathing heavy, getting a little tired. So he said, you know what? This guy's getting tired following me around. Let me go up against the ropes and take a little bit of a break. Play a little possum for him, play a little rope-a-dope, and let me kind of empty his tank out even more, and then I'm going to step on the gas later and then have a tired guy in front of me where I could be more successful with my offense. So I thought he played rope-a-dope a little bit in like rounds 3 and 4, and then after that, 5th round, he started pouring on the gas, and he started actually moving Saucedo back because Saucedo didn't have the energy to be as aggressive as he was early on. And that's when he started moving forward and kind of walking Saucedo down. And boom, what a beautiful right hand he landed to put Saucedo down there, man. That hurt Saucedo. And he couldn't recover from that. Saucedo tried to, and he was just too tired at that point to fight Hooker off. And Hooker is a very smart, underrated guy in there. He always remains composed. He never gets mentally rattled in there. He seems to be able to be dialed in the whole fight. As you said, make adjustments, keep composed in there. And he has the ability to adapt. He doesn't get frustrated. He doesn't get flustered when guys apply pressure to him. We saw how in the Flanagan fight, how he was able to turn that fight around when things got kind of hairy for him in the middle rounds. I thought he finished that fight very strongly. So Maurice Hooker is definitely a top-notch fighter at 140. Can he beat a guy like Regis Prograis? I wouldn't favor him to do so, but I think he would make the fight very interesting because of his size and his length and his boxing ability and his ability to make adjustments. I think that would be a chess match. That's a fight that I'd love to see. I also thought that he was signed to DAZN. I thought Eddie Hearn picked him up, but I found it odd that to see him on a Top Rank card. I don't know. Did he sign to the DAZN or is he on a fight-to-fight basis with Eddie Hearn? I don't know the deal, but I was expecting him to be on DAZN, and I was pleasantly surprised that he was on ESPN later in the night. So it is what it is. I thought it was a great fight. That was a very entertaining fight. I thought Saseo made it interesting early, but he just got tired as the fight wore on because he had to exert a lot of energy trying to pin the elusive Maurice Hooker down, and he could not do that. So it was a good fight. Very good fight.
Yeah, I was surprised. Were you surprised it was such a good fight?
Saseo had some hype behind him. I thought it would be a pretty good fight. I didn't think it would be as action packed. I thought Hooker would try to turn it into a boxing match. I thought the fight would end in decision, and I thought Hooker would probably win like an 8-4 type decision. But I was surprised at how entertaining and exciting the fight was, and how Maurice Hooker just went in for the kill. Yeah. I was surprised about that. Yes.
Yeah, I was too. I was too. I was expecting
that's not his MO,
I was expecting him to win a decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought he was going to win a decision too.
Yeah, not that, man.
But he's sorry he had a wounded animal in front of him, and he definitely took advantage of that. So we give him credit for that.
All right, so on the undercard here, it was the first fight. It was the first fight of the night. John Rincon versus Emmanuel Williams, and you may have saw this fight, I guess, trying to think here, on Twitter.
Yeah, it was on Twitter.
Yeah. Is that where it was, on Twitter?
Twitter and Instagram too. Yeah, I saw clips of it.
And the kid, Emmanuel Williams, was he looked like a beginner. I mean, he really did. And he just looked like a beginner. He didn't look like he had fought before or anything like that. And turns out he didn't. Both guys were making their pro debuts. I was actually going to make that the train wreck of the week because I was like, why would you put this guy in? But, after doing the research on it and everything like that, I mean, both fighters, this was their pro debut. Now, John Rincon was apparently is pretty big over there. I guess he's pretty big in Texas or whatever.
Yeah.
People know him in that area and all that other good stuff. So he went to the, I guess the regionals and stuff like that. So he was a pretty good amateur, and you could tell. I mean, he looked pretty good. But against this kid, man, Emmanuel Williams, and also too, he looked real young. Williams looked real young. I went to BoxRec, and it doesn't have his birthday listed. So I don't know, man. That was, now my guess is that hopefully his handlers say, hey, you shouldn't fight again, but we'll see what happens.
Well, Eric, I did watch the Hooker fight, and I was pleasantly surprised at what kind of fight it turned out to be. I expected Maurice Hooker to use his boxing skills and make Sasito run all over the ring for 12 rounds. So I was pleasantly surprised at how it ended, but I thought it was very entertaining. And it wouldn't surprise me to see Hooker fight Jose Ramirez next for a unification bout, because Jose was at Ringside, and normally when you see another champion at Ringside like that, that tells me that might be next, and that will be highly entertaining because they're both highly skilled fighters, and I would look forward to that.
Yeah, I would too. I think that's definitely a good thing.
And I also think that's why Hooker was on ESPN, because since Ramirez is signed to Top Rank, I would suspect that they're going to try and put that in Fresno, sometime next year.
Right. Yeah, I would too, honestly. And also too, did you see the Spence? Errol Spence was there.
Yeah.
At the Maurice Hooker fight, and so was Terrence Crawford.
Yeah, that was funny.
The two met up backstage, and both Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford were at the event. The two exchanged words with each other. Sometimes it was funny, and some of it got intense, man. Spence told Crawford he's going to knock him out. The two bet $1 million on the outcome of the fight. of course, a fight that isn't even scheduled yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were. I mean, it was kind of funny banter at times, but at times it got kind of heated. So it was pretty crazy, man.
What did you think about Spence when he brought up that he basically mapped out his next couple fights, and he said he was talking to Al Heyman and he mapped out his next couple fights, and Crawford wasn't in any of those plans. But props to Spence. Basically, he was saying, I'm going to save the best for last. He was giving Crawford his props.
Yeah.
He came right out and told the truth. No bullshit. And people say, oh, well, why is Spence not fighting Crawford? What? He wants to save the best for last. He's not making any excuses. He's not saying this or that, whatever. He's going to go into that fight with 3 belts, and Crawford will have 1. It makes sense for him to fight. It makes sense for him to fight Sean Porter, and it makes sense for him to fight Keith Thurman. They're all under the same management. They're all under the same network. They're under the same umbrella. Well, might as well settle that business and then go and take on Crawford.
What do you think's the easier fight to make?
He can beat both of those guys.
Yeah.
What do you think, hey, Beeb? What do you think is the easier fight to make? Spence Porter or Spence Thurman or Spence Crawford? I don't think either one of those guys want to fight him. I really don't.
Well, this is the thing now too. Spence got to set himself a timetable. If these guys are gonna keep doing what they're doing, then eventually he's just gonna have to go and do his own thing too. Yeah. Because it's disgraceful. I know Keith Thurman is gonna have his comeback fight, whatever. But now he's talking about fighting Porter, and he's talking about he's so non-committal when it comes to Spence.
Both of those 2 clowns, need to be stripped. I mean, they really do.
And then Sean Porter's talking about mandatories. Who's the most lenient? Who's the most lenient when it comes to enforcing mandatories? The WBC. They never stand in the way of unification fights. If Porter went to the WBC and said, "Hey, you know what? I want to unify with Spence. You know what I'm saying? I want to unify with Spence. Can I get an exception?" You think there would have been a problem with that? Look how many exceptions like Deontay Wilder got.
That fight happens in a minute.
Happens in a minute. So Sean
that's what Porter said. Porter said that's what he came out with. That was his big deal. He says, well, I had to fight my mandatory before. I wanted to fight Spence, but I had to fight my mandatory. No, you didn't.
Bullshit. You didn't, because you didn't even ask the WBC. You didn't even ask the WBC for an exception. And then like they were supposedly negotiating. Were they really negotiating, or was Sean Porter's side really negotiating in good faith? No. The counter argument's going to be, oh, well, you could say the same thing about Spence with Crawford. He doesn't want to fight Crawford. But at least he came out and said, hey, I'm saving the best for last.
Yeah.
These other guys are right there. They're on his side of the street.
Right. They don't want to fight him. And you can't.
You know what I'm saying? They're easy fights to make.
Yeah.
So then now after Keith Thurman fights his tune-up and Sean Porter fights his friggin' mandatory, then they're going to fight each other again.
Right.
Instead of fighting Spence. They are. So it's like, it's ridiculous, man. So
yeah, it is.
You know what's going to happen? They're going to fight each other again, and the winner is going to be forced into fighting Spence, and the loser won't get any payday at all.
I don't think that, we'll talk about this later about how Al Heyman does business as opposed to how other promoters do business, because Al Heyman is a manager and he's got a manager's mentality, and a manager's mentality is different than a promoter's mentality.
Right.
We've seen people have problems with Bob Arum because Bob Arum wants to put on the fights that make the most sense. And when people don't go along with those plans, they get shelved. He's not going to give you fights that don't make sense. And it's a shame. And I'm starting to warm up to this Mikey Garcia Errol Spence fight a little bit because of the intrigue factor. But it's a shame that a lightweight has to come up to welterweight because the 2 other welterweight champions want no part of the other welterweight champion. It's a bad look. It's a bad look.
I agree. It's ridiculous. I mean, I
still say Mikey's going to get schooled in there. I think it's going to be somewhat of a mismatch.
Zurdo Ramirez and Jesse Hart does make sense. You know why? Because the first fight was very entertaining and it was very close. Okay?
Yeah,
that's why.
Close.
That's why, Jason. Don't That's like you're conflating two fights now. Now you're conflating.
That's what happens. He you know, when you say he's like Trump almost, when you
cognitive dissonance. It's cognitive dissonance is what it is.
Yeah, when you give him you know, hey,
contradicts himself.
Oh, what about this? What about that? And he goes back, you know, 15 years ago to catch
everything is about like what aboutisms.
Right.
Like
right. That's the thing.
It just
put Jason on Trump's staff.
This is what I'm going to say, and I'm going to continue to say this. PBC has all of the fighters. The other promotions do not have all the fighters. You could say anything you want about the Zone. Yeah, they got the two biggest stars. Top Rank's got arguably the two best pound-for-pound fighters. Yes, but they don't have the roster. PBC has the roster. Do you think if these other promoters had the roster PBC had, do you think that they wouldn't be making these fights, or they wouldn't be putting pressure on these guys to fight each other? Because Al Heyman's a manager. He's going to sit there and tell these guys, you know, make the most money with the least amount of risk. That's what a manager does. What a promoter does is, I'm going to put on the best fights because I want fans to buy the event. I want fans to go to the event. So I'm looking for the best possible matchups that people are going to pay top dollar for. Whereas a manager is looking for, I'm going to give my guy the least amount of risk for the greatest reward. I don't care about the end product as much as I care about my fighter getting the largest reward for the least amount of risk.
Yeah.
And that's a different mentality. And that's why the events are the way they are.
Yeah.
You know, the other fight, and again, the other promoters do have mismatches. But you know what? They don't have the roster. They don't have the roster. And when they do have opponents that they can match guys up with, they make for fights. You know?
The problem I have with PBC, they have the roster. They could put together great.
That's what I just said, Robbie.
But if you look at their upcoming schedule, there's not a great fight in that schedule.
All right, well, Robert, we're gonna get to that.
We'll talk about the schedule. We're gonna
get to that. All right, before we go any further, Beeb, it's time for the train wreck of the week.
Wow, look at this.
Beautiful Elena is right here. Let's hear it.
Elena!
Chugga, chugga, choo, choo.
There you go.
Look at that. It's getting better every week.
Every week
acoustics.
It's better.
Start calling you Rihanna.
Rihanna. Oh, man. All right, so the train wreck of the week this week, Diego De La Hoya misses weight again. De La Hoya apparently fainted while training this week, and when he was trying to make weight, so this fight was canceled. This is the second time this has happened to him. I don't understand why his handlers just don't move him up in weight. I mean, it's pretty clear that he can't handle that weight class.
I hate when they do that.
Oscar's being horrible to his nephew.
Well, why is it Oscar's fault?
Well, I'm sure Oscar has a lot to do with his career, unfortunately.
Why? He's not his manager. He's his promoter.
No, I'm not. He's his promoter. I'm not saying that he's his manager, Beeb. But the problem I have with this is the second time. After the first time, didn't you sit down and realize, hey, maybe you need to move up?
That's his camp's fault, Robbie. That's not the promoter's fault. The camp, the team needs he's in training camp with these guys who are watching him. They're looking at his body. They're seeing what he's doing. They should be weighing him periodically throughout the training camp, and they should be seeing, hey, that the weight's not coming off. We can't be keeping him at this weight. That's the trainers and the camp and the
that's
people.
not Oscar's fault.
It's not Oscar's fault. Oscar's the promoter.
There's a lot of other things to blame Oscar for about this guy, but this is not one.
I mean, Oscar does do a lot of things wrong, but this isn't his fault. He's not running training camps.
No,
I know. But this is the second time this has happened. They need to move the kid to 130. And let's face it. In my opinion, Oscar hasn't treated him very well. I mean, look at some of the cards the kid has been on. You know, I mean, and he's a decent fighter.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he just needs to move up in weight. I mean, can't make that weight. You know, and again, man, and not only is he's costing guys, you know, and if they cancel the card because of him, all those fighters on the card are losing money. Your opponent's losing money. You're losing money. Everybody who works in that car is losing money. Imagine how much money Oscar's losing. That's why he doesn't promote him. I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Get your stuff together. Maybe Oscar did know what he was talking about.
Up and wait, you know.
His aunt comes over. Oscar, can you put my guy on the? Can you put your nephew on the card?
Yeah. Well, put him in the proper weight class.
It is what it is.
126 is no longer the weight for him.
Well, that's the weight he fights at. I mean, it's not. How is it? I don't understand. How it's Oscar's problem.
No, I'm just saying it's time to move him up, and somebody needs to do that.
Right, I agree.
Manny Pacquiao did not want to fight Terrence Crawford. That's why that fight wasn't made. Aaron presented the fight to Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao said no.
He's still going on in the chat.
He said no.
All right. So let's talk about the next round here. DAZN. On DAZN. Now I'm going to go on record and say it, man. I like DAZN. Beeb, I know you're a big fan of DAZN.
I am.
I like watching the fights every weekend, man. But I don't know who hired this cupcake reporter. This chick is terrible. What is her name? Kay Adams or something like that?
Kay Adams.
She's awful, dude.
Don't like her?
No.
She used to work for Fox.
Jesus.
I'm sorry.
She's terrible.
I'm sorry. She's a little corny at times, but she's kind of, I know, she's kind of cute, man. She's won me over with her personality.
Hey, listen, man, she's very cute. I mean, but that's why she's on TV. There's a lot of cute chicks on TV.
She's got a like nice, cute personality too. I kind of like the girl. I want
a woman with brains.
I can imagine like paying for a few dinners.
Paying.
Yeah, but I'd like to have some intelligence behind the beauty.
I don't really need that, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm good with just a couple of dinners, I tell you what, I think intelligence is way overrated.
That's not fair.
I think intelligence is way overrated when it comes to chicks. But I'm not. She's just terrible, man. And it's almost like she flirts with everybody. I don't know.
Yeah, she's very flirtatious. I noticed that. Like she's coming up from behind and hanging on like Sugar Ray. Like the guy's 60. Leave him alone. But leave him alone. He's 60 years old. 60-something years old. Get off of him. You know what I mean?
And Beeb, once again, you get me in trouble. My wife, she just texted me. She listened to the show.
Lisa, don't blame him. It's me. It's me, Lisa. It's me. It's not even him. It's not even him. It's me. I'm sorry, Lisa.
Questioning your intelligence. That's not fair.
I'm not questioning Lisa's intelligence. I'm just saying, I don't need like a brainy chick. That's all I'm saying.
And Sergio Mora is
intelligent, Eric.
Sergio Mora. Sergio Mora is normally good, but he said a couple bonehead things yesterday. When we talk about go into in depth about the card, I'll talk about some of the things that he said last night that made no sense. It's kind of aggravating, some of the things he said.
Yeah, everybody piled on Sugar Ray Leonard too. And
well, I mean, like they were asking Sugar Ray Leonard questions about the fights. They're asking him about the fights and they're asking him about fighters. And his response to everything was, "Oh, this guy's incredible. This guy's great. This guy's this. This guy's like." He just kept putting everyone that they asked him a question about on a pedestal, but he didn't really elaborate on why they're great, why they're this, why they're that. Made a lot of generalized statements.
You ask Andre Ward, he'll break it down for you.
Yeah. So there wasn't much substance to his commentary.
All right, go ahead and say something here. Can you?
What do you want me to say?
Okay. Can you guys hear Lisa? Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
I don't think it's fair. I can't hear you guys.
That's probably better. That's probably better. I didn't get her a set of headphones, and that's for good reason. So you just texted me when I talked about this cupcake on DAZN.
See, just the word cupcake is going to get you in trouble.
You texted me a picture of a pig, and
I said
3 pigs. But yeah.
Is she able to hear this? Is she able to hear us?
I can relay her the message. Yeah, Robbie's talking. He says that.
And I said you're questioning her intelligence.
He said that I'm questioning your intelligence.
Oh, are you now?
Well, no, he meant this as a compliment to you. It wasn't like a slide against you because I said that I didn't need a chick with brains to go out to dinner. I could deal with, chicks just going out to dinner with me.
And I said, no.
Lisa, I didn't call her a cupcake. I just said she was attractive. I never used the word cupcake that's not even in my repertoire. That's not even.
No, I'm sure that was you. That sounds very much like you.
That's not even in my repertoire of pickup lines. Cupcake. I never walk up to a lady and say, "Hey, cupcake, what are you doing tonight?" Beeb's never done that. Not even at his worst.
He said Beeb's never called anybody a cupcake, even at his worst.
Not able to hear it.
No, but he was complaining about how flirtatious she was, which was sort of annoying.
He said, "Yeah, well, you know, in our defense, she is very flirtatious.
She is very flirtatious. She hangs on Chris Mannix like he's a coat rack. She hangs on Chris Mannix like he's a coat rack.
Yeah, she does hang all over Chris Mannix. I mean, like a cheap suit.
Always touching him.
Yeah.
I just know you have a long sexist history with female sports announcers and
Do you hear this,
female
Robert?
sports
Right.
figures.
She's talking about you.
No, I'm talking about you,
Me?
Eric Lorta.
Me?
Yes.
What did I do?
You constantly disparage female announcers, female
That's not
analysts,
true.
female athletes.
I can see that.
Robert says, "Yeah, I can see that."
That's a total mischaracterization. I'm sorry.
Beeb says it's a total mischaracterization, and you know what? I agree with him.
Well, I'm married to you. I do kind of know you.
This is horrible, horrible.
Eric, if you're going to involve her in the conversation, she needs a pair of headphones.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, let me just go and get them real quick and just put the show on hold so I can go get some headphones.
Robbie, please.
Why don't you get a video camera? How about it? Why don't we start there? Why don't you get the
you
zone
leave
in a
him
video
alone. He
camera?
sounds like he's being nice to me. So.
Yeah.
All right, get out of here.
All right. Have fun, boys.
I will. Goodbye.
All right. See you.
All right.
Hey, you never know what direction the show's going to take.
Cupcake.
Never cupcake. That's right.
That was funny.
Go get my dinner on the table, will you? All right. Yeah, I'll probably be locked in the basement now on, you know. Jason just said that was the Lord of Counseling session.
Oh, Eric.
All right, so the bottom line is we can't stand this cupcake reporter. All right, that's the bottom line. All right, so Jarrell Miller versus Bogdan Dinu. Now, Robert, Jarrell Miller is quickly your favorite fighter.
Absolutely not.
Weighed in at 315.25 pounds. That's what Jarrell Miller weighed for this fight. He weighed 2 pounds, well, a little under 2 pounds less than his last fight that he came in at 317 at. So clearly he's working on it.
He looked great today.
Yeah.
He had a 78-pound advantage against Dinu. I thought Dinu looked good early on. I gave him the first 2 rounds, but then he looked like he ran out of gas. Miller dropped him in the 4th and then finished him shortly after that. I will disagree with Beeb on this because I know where the route he's going to go. Miller weighed 315 pounds, and he looked every bit of his weight in this fight. Honestly, I feel the same way about him as I did Chris Arreola. I think there's a ton of talent there, but he just refuses to come in shape, and it's only going to hurt him in the long run. When he has a big fight, I mean, it's going to show. I mean, that's just the bottom line. It's going to show.
I'm gonna disagree because it's a functional 315 pounds. Because
functional 315.
I'm gonna explain why. First of all, the guy's got definition. He's got a nice round chest. He's got big trees for arms. He's got a big back. The guy's got a power
nice round chest.
You know, I'm not really getting into that going down that road. The guy's got good muscular shape to him. You can tell the guy lifts weights. He's a power lifter. But here's the thing. Every time the guy fights, we're hearing people say make cracks about his weight. But he's the guy that's usually outworking the other guy, throwing more punches. The guy that's not getting tired. He never gets out of breath. This guy's in great condition.
But look who's fighting. I mean, you know, and that guy, he doesn't even do this for a living. This is like his second job. He moonlights as a boxer. Dinu, I'm talking about.
The guy won the first 2 rounds there. You got to give him credit for that.
I did. I said he won the first 2 rounds.
You know, you got to be, decent if you can win at least a couple rounds. I mean, it wasn't like he got walked over. He came out and boxed very well.
He did. Like I said, until he ran out of gas in the 3rd round. Well, what was it, Robert?
Be realistic, though. If he ever gets in any kind of serious competition with a real heavyweight, this 315 pounds they're not going to do him a damn bit of good. I mean, you've got to come in decent shape. Are you going to tell me that he's going to be able to walk in?
Okay, but Maurice Walk and Johan Duapis and Gerald Washington, they're all ranked heavyweights. And he looked better against Gerald Washington than Deontay Wilder did. I thought. You know, knocked out Maurice Wack. Thomas Adamek, he's a crafty veteran. Took him out of there. I mean, he's fought some ranked guys. He's fought some ranked guys. I don't think,
but he hasn't fought any killers yet. He hasn't fought any upper echelon guys, and he hasn't. I mean, could he beat him? I don't know.
Top 10 guys. He's fought bottom level top 10 guys.
Well, and you had talked about you think he could beat Dillian Whyte.
I think he can beat Dillian Whyte. I think he's a better boxer.
I want to see that fight. I think that's a good fight.
Probably going to see it. He may fight Dillian Whyte next, or he may fight Anthony Joshua next. Because who is Anthony Joshua going to fight next? Because Dillian Whyte and Chisora are fighting. When is Dillian Whyte and Derek Chisora fighting?
I don't remember. But you know what? Even if they're talking about him fighting the winner, I'm not sure that fight goes over that well. You know what I mean? I don't know that anybody really wants to see him and Dillian Whyte again. I don't know.
Dillian Whyte versus Derek Chisora was a good fight the first time, wasn't it? It was pretty decent.
He knocked him out in the 7th round.
No, Dillian Whyte. I'm talking about Dillian Whyte versus Chisora, the rematch.
No. Chisora, yeah. I think that, I think people want to see that. I'm talking about the Joshua rematch with Dillian Whyte.
Oh, I don't think that's etched in stone, because let me look. So Derek Chisora, they're fighting in December.
Yeah.
So I guess they're fighting December 22nd. So I guess technically the winner of that fight could be ready in April, probably, right? That's enough time. They'll have enough time to get ready.
Sure.
But don't be surprised if Jarrell Miller fights Anthony Joshua next, because he's ranked number 2 by the WBA. He's highly ranked.
You honestly think that Miller at 315 pounds is going to be able to do this?
It's a functional 315. I'm going to stand by that. I'm not looking at this guy. He's got a V taper. He doesn't jiggle when he moves. Guy's solid as a rock.
Come on.
I'm a big Jarrell Miller fan.
Take a boxer serious.
I'm a big Jarrell. This ain't a bodybuilding contest. He's built. Look how fast his hands are. Look how
Eric,
he's like a gazelle. He's like a gazelle on his feet. He moves so gracefully in that ring.
I've never heard of a functional 315 pounds.
That's a functional 315.
Babe, you think this guy's in good shape?
Yeah. Cardiovascular-wise, yeah.
You don't think cardiovascular? Well, I don't know. I think it'll.
He went a hard 12. He went a hard 12 with Duapis. He didn't look tired in that fight.
Yeah, he did. I think, like I said, man, I think, once he gets in with somebody with some upper echelon skills, we're going to find out and we're going to see. And I think he's going to end up like Chris Arreola.
Never. Come on. He's a better fighter than Chris Arreola.
And Chris Arreola was a good fighter.
Yeah, but he was not as skilled a boxer as this guy. This guy can counterpunch. He can move. He punches in combination. He doesn't load up. Chris Arreola used to telegraph a lot of shots. He used to load up. This guy,
he's a good boxer because he was in K1 and all that other stuff. I mean, he definitely
has got a lot of skill. This guy's got a lot of skill.
You seriously believe that him weighing 315 pounds is going to be able to walk into Wembley Stadium on April 13th?
It's a functional 315. He looks better at 3. He fights better at 315 than he does at 280. I seen him get down to 280. Didn't have the same pep in his step. This guy's legitimate. 315 pounder. He's 6'4".
I don't see that going over very well at all.
You're fat shaming this guy. I don't like it. You're fat shaming this guy. I don't like it. You want this guy to be a bodybuilder. I'm not feeling it, Bobby. I'm not feeling it.
I don't see it.
I would just like him to come in at 275.
This is identity. This is like identity. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Slow. All right, he comes in at 315. Let's see you come in at 305. All right, let's just start real slow, and then let's go down to 290.
You ever watch this guy's upper body movement? How skilled this guy is. See how he rolls shots. See how he slips shots. You see the feints this guy throws. You see how he'll throw a nice little feint and then hook off that feint. This guy's got skills, man. This guy's got fast hands.
I'm tired about somebody who's 315 pounds. I can't.
Who has better boxing skills? Who's a better all-around technical fighter, him or Dillian Whyte?
Whyte.
No way.
Come on, son.
No way.
Come on, son.
No way.
You know he ain't beating White, right? You know
he beats White.
No.
I would pick him to beat White.
You'd lose.
No, he wouldn't.
You'd lose.
Who has White ever beaten? Like, really? Like, name one top guy White beat. Derek Chisora was, he's a Derek Chisora is a good fighter, but he's a bottom level top 10 guy too.
Do against Joseph Parker.
Joseph Parker, that was a good win, but I thought that he got lucky because that he got awarded a knockdown that really wasn't a knockdown. I'm not going to cry over spilt milk. It is what it is. But Joseph Parker almost stopped him in the last round. Why did that happen? He gets tired, Dillian White. If he doesn't knock you out, he gets tired. He won that fight by the skin of his teeth.
I would like to see like Joseph Parker and Big Baby Miller. I would like to see that fight.
Yeah,
Big Baby would beat him.
Well, we'll see.
Big Baby beat him.
Who was the guy? Who was the guy that fought Parker for the title?
Andy Ruiz.
Andy Ruiz. I'd like to see Andy Ruiz. I guess I don't even know if he's fighting anymore, but that would be a fight. I'd like to see that fight. All right. So on the undercard here, Nico Hernandez versus Josue Morales. Nico Hernandez defeats Josue Morales by the scores of 80-72 twice and 79-73. Hernandez looked good. I thought he looked really good. Morales was definitely in there to fight, man, for sure. Morales had 18 fights coming into Nico's 6 fights.
Yeah.
So, and Hernandez looked very solid. It wasn't like a performance like, oh my God, like I got to see this guy again. But knowing the background, knowing that Morales came in with all that experience, I thought he did great, man. I thought he looked really good.
It's like with Shakur Stevenson. When we first saw his first couple fights, we were questioning certain things. And then as time went on, he seemed to get better. And I think once this kid gets acclimated to the pro style, I think he's going to be a really solid pro. I really do.
I just heard in the chat, it says Andy Ruiz works at McDonald's. So there you go. That's where Andy Ruiz is now. Okay. That's why I like having you guys here, because you guys are always like crack in all.
This is what I don't like. See, I don't like this identity politics that's going on. We're making fun of people because they weigh 315. We're making fun of people that work at McDonald's. I mean, what's wrong with McDonald's?
I like McDonald's. That was the first sandwiches out. That's pretty good.
That was my first on the books job I ever had at 15 years old, baby.
Did you?
That was my first on the books. Excuse me?
Did you do the McRib sandwiches and everything?
Those were promotions back then. We didn't have that on the regular rotation.
Yeah,
I remember working that grill. I was a beast on that grill.
I bet you were.
I took pride in that, man.
Absolutely.
I never called in sick. I was there all the time.
There it is.
I used to eat the nuggets every now and then, but I used to get yelled at for that. But other than that, I was a model employee.
It says Eric sounds like a Fox News host today.
Hey, it's a great station, guys.
You like Fox News, Robert?
not because of what people saying in the chat. We can't even get McDonald's as a potential sponsor now because of this negativity, I'm guessing.
Right. That's true. That's very true.
What's going on here?
All right. Brandon Rios versus Ramon Alvarez. This was a good fight, too. I tell you what, and Robert, Robert and I both have been a big, opponent of Brandon Rios coming back, fighting anymore.
Yeah.
This was a good fight, man. Brandon Rios scored a 9th round TKO over Ramon Alvarez. Rios came to fight it, man, and Alvarez came to fight too. Both these guys deserve fight of the night as far as I'm concerned. I thought this was the best fight on the card. Rios' pressure was a difference in this fight. He looked good. I wouldn't put him in there with anybody like super, super dangerous, like any champion level fighters. He gets hit a little bit too much for that, but I wouldn't mind seeing another fight. He looked great. He really did. And Robert Garcia is training him.
Yeah.
So he looked good.
I hate to be a negative Nelly, but I'm going to be honest with you. I know a lot of people like the blood and guts. They like the action. They like to see rock'em sock'em robots. But I was watching this fight and I was kind of cringing a little bit because I saw two guys that obviously they're boxers. They have a background in boxing. They're better than the average guy on the street without question.
Yeah.
But when you look at some of these other fighters in there, especially in the welterweight division and the junior middleweight division, The guys that aren't not even the guys that I would classify as elite, but just guys that are solid pros. And I was watching these two guys, and you could see that the timing wasn't there. How much slower both guys, because I've seen both guys fight before. Both guys have slowed down tremendously. Their reflexes were totally dulled compared to what they were before. You can see both guys are at the tail end of their career. And while this may be looked at as entertaining to some people, it looked like both guys couldn't get out of the way of each other's shots. And the thing was Rios just had a little bit more pop on his, so he was able to get Alvarez out of there. Watching this, I had some, it was bittersweet for me, because I'm looking at this and I'm saying, yeah, this is kind of entertaining. It's back and forth. And, you've heard me say that it's not always the significance of the fight. It's how the two guys match up and where they both are at the particular stage in their careers, which can make for an entertaining and competitive fight, which was what we had last night. But what I did see is I saw the potential for either one of these guys fighting someone else who's better than them, even by a little bit, and they can get hurt. Because these guys can't get out of the way of shots. These guys have no defense anymore. And when a guy has no defense anymore, and he's in a division where you have highly skilled guys who can take your head off with one shot, it's kind of the road ahead is kind of scary. So I look at Rios and I say to myself, I like the kid a lot. He's a good person. He's a really good family man, whatever. He's a hard worker. But at the end of the day, he's an accident waiting to happen. He's an accident waiting to happen. So, this was good and bad last night. This was bittersweet.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I'm of the opinion that he shouldn't fight anymore, period. Because he's taken way too many shots.
Yeah. And Bayside Boxing made an excellent point. He is slurring his words now.
Yeah. Is he really? I didn't hear any interviews or whatever.
He slurs words a little bit.
Wow, that's not good.
Yeah,
I love the guy too.
It's not going to be a very good ending for him if he continues.
Well, I don't understand. Like,
why
doesn't the commission step in when they hear this?
Yeah,
I mean, when they hear you starting to slur your words and everything, why doesn't the commission step in and say we can't do this?
Joe Lopez made a statement in the chat. He said Rios a hard worker, and he put a question mark at the end of it, and he said, "I don't think so." Well, when I say hard worker, he's a hard worker in the fights. There's no quit in him when he's in that ring. That's what I meant. Does he always get in the best possible shape in training camp? Absolutely not. You're right about that, Joe Lopez. But when he is in that ring, there's no quit in him. Like he fought the whole 12 hard rounds with Manny Pacquiao, and he didn't look for the back door at all in that fight. He hung in there and took his beating like a man. So he's a hard worker in that ring. He puts it all on the line. Sometimes that's bad, but it should be admired. At least I respect and admire the guy's heart. And when he's in there, he just gives it everything he has. So in that regard, yeah, he's a hard worker.
Tommy Temper just answered the question. He says, why don't they step in? Money is why they don't step in.
Yeah.
Right. And you got to get a doctor to go along with the fact, hey, this guy pass any physicals. He's not. Like remember what the New York State Athletic Commission did several years ago to Evander Holyfield. They basically said,
"Yeah, that's correct, Robbie.
Sanction any more of his fights."
Excellent point, Robbie.
Yeah. All right. Gabe Rosado versus Louis Arias. Rosado and Arias fought to a 12-round draw. Scores were 116-112 for Rosado, 116-112 for Arias, and 114-114. Rosado was another one that looked okay here. I was surprised at him and Brandon Rios that they looked pretty well. So I don't know.
Well,
and you're talking about two guys who probably shouldn't be fighting anymore.
No, Rosado. This is the thing about Rosado, and this is what I love about Rosado. He's a realist. He said he's slowing down. He said he's not what he used to be. But Rosado knows how to fight. Rosado is a very crafty veteran. He knows how to freeze people with those feints. He knows how to make those subtle movements. He knows how to move and create punching angles for himself. He's got a good jab. He goes to the body very well. And, the only thing about him was he's just never been exceptional at anything. And to to be a great fighter, you have to have some exceptional standout qualities. And, he's never been the hardest puncher in the world. He's never been the strongest guy in the world. He's never been the fastest guy in the world. But one thing he's had is he knows how to fight. And his veteran boxing skills is what kept him in this fight. I had the fight a dead draw, and I thought the fight was definitely on the table. But, Arias fell for some of those tricks. He was tricked into believing that he could just outmaneuver and out-hustle Gabe Rosado. But Gabe Rosado hung in there with his craftiness, with his feints, with his body punching, with his jab, with his slick counter punching. He made moves. He walked Arias into traps, and Arias bit on those feints. He bit on those traps. And Gabe Rosado was an excellent counter puncher. He was and another thing too, I think that goes unmentioned, and I think Billy Briscoe is a very underrated trainer because he gives good instructions in there. And I noticed he said, that uppercut is there for you. That uppercut is there for you. He's going to walk into it. Let him walk into that uppercut. And in the 9th round, he walked into that uppercut. Gabe listened to him. He kind of leaned back a little bit, waited for Arias to step in, and boom, he shot that sneaky uppercut right up between the guard. So, in the era where you have guys just yelling and screaming in the corner, with their theatrics and not really saying much, oh, go out there and just kick his ass. Well, how do I kick his ass? Billy Briscoe actually told Gabe and gave Gabe some great advice, and Gabe actually followed it, and it served him well. So I think that when these two guys are together, it's a good partnership, in my opinion.
All right. Claressa Shields versus Hannah Rankin. Claressa Shields wins the unanimous decision by the scores of 100-90. Not much to say here. Shields has taken to wearing the GWOAT GWOAT on her ring attire now. Greatest woman of all time, in case you're wondering. She doesn't have a good personality. People did really dislike her. I mean, people hate her on social media. And I think they want to.
Me of Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, I think she's trying to steal that gimmick, so to speak. But that being said, I don't think anybody cares much, about her. And I think that's more of a big problem for her.
Shout out to Tommy Temper in the chat with the $5 donation. Great channel, guys. Can you give What You Need a shout out? I most certainly can give What You Need a shout out. I love What You Need. We go back a long way. He's an old veteran YouTuber. Don't always agree on everything, but much respect to What You Need because he presents his case and he knows how to support his case with the strong points. Whether I agree with them or not, he really can articulate his points well, and that's why I give him credit. So shout out to Tommy Temper for the $5, and shout out to What You Need for hanging around in the chat and having good opinions.
It's £5, Beeb, not £5.
Yeah,
come on,
so it's $7.50.
That's it. Thank you so much, Tommy Temper. We appreciate it.
That's why I love what Eddie Hearn pays me, man. I get that conversion rate.
Yeah, you're supposed to be the UK guy. You got to convert it right.
That's right. Showbox had Jaron Ennis and Ray Serrano. Jaron Ennis wins via second round TKO.
I need to see him be stepped up here. He has looked great in every single one of his fights that I've seen. But come on, let's make the competition a little stiffer. I realize he's at 147, and we know how stacked that division is. But
right,
you gotta put this kid against somebody that can do something back, and they haven't done that yet. But he looks like the next Philadelphia great fighter. But I want to see it.
All right. Okay, so the upcoming fights, that was it for the weekend. Now the upcoming fights, November 23rd, which I believe is Black Friday, yeah?
That is it, yeah.
All right, Mexico City on Telemundo, Robbie's favorite station. Ganigan Lopez versus Ricardo Rodriguez, 10 rounds flyweights in a fight that absolutely nobody cares about. November 24th, which is Saturday, in Atlantic City, New Jersey on HBO, Dimitri Bivol versus Jean Pascal, 12 rounds for Bivol's WBA light heavyweight title. And
Bivol should blow him away.
And I think that's got to be it for that card. I'm looking at the undercard here. It's got to be a 1 and out there. I mean, because
that's the only fight. That is the only fight.
I'm looking at. I don't recognize any of the names underneath there. And at Monte Carlo on DAZN, Dennis Lebedev versus Mike Wilson, 12 rounds cruiserweights. And Kyle Yafai versus Israel Gonzalez, 12 rounds for Yafai's WBA junior bantamweight title. You know what I disliked about the Zones card last night? It was in Kansas, right? It was in Kansas.
Yeah.
And I guess before the main event, before Miller and Dinu came out, they showed like a matchroom package, and it was all like British fighters. Did you see that?
Yeah.
It was all like British stuff. And I understand Matchroom is a British company, but you're in the States. Mix in some of your fighters in there now. Mix in some of the, United States guys. Mix in, because I think it doesn't, like, people don't know. People, you're talking about a lot of casual fans that go there. They don't know a lot of these guys. So I don't know, just my opinion. Let's see here. And that's it for next weekend. It's a slow weekend just because of the Thanksgiving and everything, the holiday weekend. Yeah. How about that? All right. Let's see here. All right. So now for our news and rumors. Now, Jason has requested, because he's been requesting all week to have, I guess, for us to do a show on the PBC, on the schedule and everything like that.
Absolutely not.
To do like a special show or whatever. So let me ask you a question. He's requested to bring him on during the segment that we talk about the PBC schedule.
Let's bring him on afterwards because his schedule sucks.
All right. Well, that's wow.
Well, you know what? This is the thing. We always give Jason a lot of stick.
Mm-hmm.
Let him come on and let him talk about this schedule and try to sell this schedule to us, because let's give him a shot. We'll be fair about it. We'll give him the floor.
All right. But again, let me do the news. I'm speaking to Jason here, and I know he hears me.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it first. We're going to do the schedule, and then we'll talk about the schedule. Stay quiet until it's your time.
I'm going to shut my mouth. I'm not going to do anything. Zone.
He's a fucking mental case is what he is.
Hi, Jason.
What up? Hey, what's up, Beeb?
How are you? Happy Thanksgiving.
How are you? Still going?
All right. So our news and rumors now. The PBC schedule.
Thanks for letting me in, Beeb. Thanks for letting me in.
Welcome.
All right. The PBC schedule has been announced. I had something to do with that too, by the way. I'm just saying.
I know. I said thanks to you on Facebook, bro. I sent it to you.
You don't want to thank me on the air.
And how is your wife's mic better than yours? What the fuck kind of shit is that?
I love my mic. My mic's nice, man. What are you talking about?
No, but your wife's mic was like the most clear
mic. You should work for
CT Net. She gets the good mic. What can I say?
He should work for CT Net. All he does is give reviews on cameras, mics, audio equipment.
Right?
What do you work for, Best Buy, kid?
All right. So the PBC released their schedule this week, and for the 2019 and somewhat 2018 here. So the schedule is as follows: Jermell Charlo versus Willie Monroe Jr. And then Jamal Charlo versus Willie Monroe Jr. Jermell Charlo versus Tony Harrison. That's on December 22nd. Jose Uzcategui versus Caleb Plant. That's on January 13th. Keith Thurman versus Josecito Lopez.
Badass fight. You
Quit.
had that too.
Let me finish. Keith Thurman versus Josecito Lopez on January 26th. Leo Santa Cruz versus Miguel Flores, February 16th.
Trash.
Anthony Durrell, I'm going to mute you. Anthony Durrell versus Avni Yildirim on February 23rd. Sean Porter versus Yordanis Ugas on March 9th. Errol Spence versus Mikey Garcia. Fight has been confirmed. March 16th. Lamont Peterson versus Sergey Lipinets, March 24th. Caleb Truax versus Peter Quillen, April 13th. Danny Garcia versus Adrian Granados, April 20th. Now, also, Fox fights have been confirmed. 2 fights for May in 2019, 2 fights for June, 2 fights for July, 2 fights for August, 2 in September, 1 in November, and 2 in December for 2019. That hasn't been announced yet.
What about Broner Pacquiao, Eric? You didn't mention that.
That's because it's not listed.
That's not on Fox, Robbie.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So let me tell you the fight I like. There's a couple fights I like here. I like the Jermell Charlo Willie Monroe. I know a lot of people hate it. I like that fight. And I don't think it's going to be a blockbuster. I don't know that it's going to be a can't miss. I just want to see how Willie Monroe does, or actually how Charlo does against Willie Monroe. Because because it's a completely different style than what he's used to.
I don't hate that fight.
No, I don't either.
hate the Monroe fight. I hate that fight.
Let's see here. Let's see what other fight I like.
I actually like the Tony Harrison fight too. Tony Harrison's a good boxer.
Yeah, I like that. I like that one. I like
the Tony Harrison fight.
Errol Spence Jr. versus Mikey Garcia. Love the fight.
I like it now. Yeah,
Garcia in Granados. I like it. I would like it better if it was a lower weight. But Granados lives at 140, not 147.
I don't hate that fight.
I don't hate it, but I think it's going to be a one-sided fight.
I know who's going to win that fight though.
But
But it's going to be fun to watch.
And that's about it. I mean, honestly, that's about it for the.
I like the Callum Plant fight's good too. the Uzgataki Callum Plant fight. That's an awesome fight.
Not a bad fight.
Oh, I love that fight. I think that's a really good fight.
Robert, what do you think of the schedule?
Overall, I think the schedule sucks really because I think.
Can I go over the schedule yet?
I think most of these fights are you know who's going to win before the fight starts.
No, there's a few that the Uzgataki fight is a good one.
I don't. Now I want to be proven wrong, but on paper, I don't see anything that's going to be real competitive.
I'm going to tell you why those Charlo fights are entertaining because Willie Monroe, I thought, lost to Billy Joe Saunders 115 and 113. So, given the right opponent, I think Willie Monroe, style-wise, can match up with certain guys in that middleweight division. And Charlo may just be one of those guys he matches up well with. Because we saw both Charlo brothers somewhat struggle with a crafty southpaw in Austin Trout. And at this stage, you can argue that Monroe has more in the tank than Trout. So he can make this fight very interesting. It's you would still favor Charlo, but it's going to be a competitive matchup.
Right. Go ahead, Jason. Jason, what do you think? Now you wanted us to do a show on the schedule. You really like the schedule.
Let me just be honest and let me go over it one by one. All right.
Sure.
I don't like the Willie Monroe fight. I hate it because Willie Monroe's a fucking disgrace. He shouldn't even be on main event anywhere.
Why? That's harsh.
Because he never comes to fight. He never comes to fight like Luis Arias. He's a fucking disgrace, and he doesn't.
Yeah, what about the fight he had with Billy Joe Saunders? That was a good fight.
Yeah.
What? No. Let me just go through them real quick.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Jarrell Miller versus Tony Harrison is like a 6-round. He's like a 6-round elite fighter to me. Harrison. He's good for 6 rounds. Then he always gasses out. I think he's like a drinker or something. That always happens. Brazil versus Negron. I've been watching Negron. That fucking fight is going to be a war. People don't care about it. That's fine. All right, next fight, Jose Oscarigui and Plant. That's a really good fight. But
that's the best fight.
Like 60-40 fight. Yeah.
That's the best fight.
Tito Lopez and Thurman. I expected that fight because I can't really blame him after 2 years. Before he left, he beat Thurman and Porter. Danny and Porter back to back. He deserves respect for that. He's getting this soft touch. But then he said, next I might fight Porter, then I might fight Manny. So Beeb, you were saying that Heyman should try to make. I'm sure Heyman has asked him if he wants Spence, but he doesn't want Spence. Heyman knows that. That's why he's not going to keep pushing his client. That's the same reason. That's the same thing with Manny versus Crawford. I'm sure Aaron presented that fight to him a few times, and Manny said, "No, we're not fighting him." That's why Roach kept coming out and saying, "There's no way I'm letting Manny fight Crawford." It's the same shit. But Thurman is in his prime, so he deserves more stick than what he's getting everywhere he goes. He's being hounded by it. Let me go to the next one real quick. Flores fight. I hate that fight, so let's not even talk about it. Anthony Durrell. I'm not even going to talk about it. Porter Ugas. I like that fight. Ugas is a fucking sharp ass dude. Like he deserves that shot. He should have been fighting probably Spence, but he's getting this shot. It's the same thing. And Porter, I'm not really impressed by him. He struggled against Granados too. Do you guys remember that Porter Granados fight?
Yes. Porter was too big for Granados, honestly.
But Granados hung in there.
He didn't look that great, did he?
No, he didn't.
No. That was a competitive fight. That was a hard fought fight.
I won't be surprised if Ugas beats Porter at all. I won't be surprised at all.
I'll laugh.
Would you be, Beeb? Would you be surprised?
I would be slightly. I would be slightly surprised. But Ugas is.
I'm rooting for Ugas.
Yeah.
And Peterson Lipinets, that's another really good.
That's an awesome fight.
We know that.
Wow.
Right?
That's a great fight.
I wish Beeb, when you did your video about the PBC schedule, you were like, I like these fights because this is the same thing UFC does all the time. They have guys with like 8 losses, 10 losses fighting a guy with 5 losses, like number 10 and 3, 8 and 5, or 2 and like they do this all the time, like every week, like Mike Perry and Cowboy. The whole UFC world is talking about it. Joe Rogan is like saying, "Oh my God, Mike Perry is such a badass fighter. Cowboy is such a badass fighter." These guys have like almost 20 fucking losses between them.
Yeah, but who cares about that? But you know what? I mean, what you're saying though is, if you're not undefeated,
that's why UFC is booming, because they're not so fucking negative about every fucking fight they put out. PBC gave us so many good fights this year, and Beeb is all right. Let me just go finish this last fight. Danny Garcia, Granados, Beeb already said that's going to be action-packed fight because both of those guys come forward. That's going to be action-packed, and Robbie's also like bashing all these fights. They're not the best fights, but they're not bad at all compared to what we're getting from in the zone. Vargas versus Delorme. Let me just finish 1 minute. Vargas Delorme. What was the next fight? Jacobs versus fucking no. What was it? Miller versus what was the guy you fought? The 45-year-old Adamek. Then we got Andrade versus that African dude. Now we got fucking what did we get last night? Miller versus Dinu. I've never even heard of Dinu in my fucking life. And Brandon Rios versus Canelo's bum ass brother. Clarissa Shields, who fucking Robbie's talking shit about, was the only one that had a decent fight. Like, but
the Gabe Rosado fight was the Gabe Rosado fight was a good fight. I enjoyed that fight.
I thought the Rios fight was a good fight. I thought the Rosado fight was a good fight.
That was Louis already was holding and running. He's a disgrace. I'm telling you.
Wow.
All right, go ahead, guys. I'm done. Go aheid. Beeb, I want your response. Beeb, go ahead.
You know, I'm going to be fair here. Some of these fights are showcase fights. And I get it. You know, you're trying to introduce these fighters to a kind of a new demographic on Fox. So the guys like Thurman, guys like Danny Garcia, and guys like Porter, they're in some. I mean, I know you say the Ugas fight's going to be competitive, but you have to favor Porter there. It's probably Porter's 65-35 at least. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that they're showcasing those guys in the hopes to build them up, so then they can fight each other. But my whole problem is I hope they don't milk those three guys too long. I don't hate the schedule. I love the Uzcategui fight. I like the Quillen Truax fight. That's a good fight. You forgot to mention the Quillen fight. The Quillen Truax fight. That's a good fight.
I'm not impressed by Truax. He just seems very slow and kind of.
I like, but he can present problems because you don't forget Quillen has trouble dealing with guys that fight well on the inside. This guy can get in your chest and he can make the fight hard. It's a good style matchup.
Can I say something?
Sure. Go ahead, Eric.
That's a good decision too. Take it to Minneapolis.
Here's the deal: are the fights here better than what we get from like Golden Boy on a Thursday night or ESPN2 or whatever?
Some of them are.
Of course. Let me finish. Jason, let me finish.
Not even Saturday.
Let me finish. Okay, so are they better? Yeah, they're 100% better. Would I rather watch these than rather watch the USA fights? Yeah, absolutely. No question.
What about the fights last night?
Are you going to let me finish? Or are you going to go on mute?
What about the fights last
night? Are you going to
let
me finish? Or are you going to let me go on mute?
Come on.
All right, listen up. So are they better? Yeah, they're 100% better than the fights we used to sit to watch on Friday and everything like that. I get it. But I'm just saying, given the with the PBC, given their roster of fighters, that roster of talent, to put out a schedule like this, it's underwhelming. There are good fights on there, yeah. And will I watch them? Well, of course I will. But is it underwhelming given the fact they're talent? Yes. I mean, does anybody really disagree with that?
No.
I'm going to explain something. Because I agree partially with what you're saying, Eric. A lot of these fights, we know who the winner is going to be. But in the same token, you can't put a guy in tough back to back to back to back to back. So some of these guys, like Danny Garcia, you know, he just got through fighting Sean Porter, and Sean Porter just got through fighting Danny Garcia. That's a tough fight. So this is the thing I'm saying. Okay, I'm giving them a pass this time, but later in the year, I want to see more out of these guys. Like the Uzcategui fight, I like. The Quillen fight, I like. What was another one that I like there? There's about 3 of them that I think are pretty entertaining, competitive fights that I like. But I don't like, what the welterweights are doing.
Igloo 2, let me jump in here. Igloo 2 in the chat just said that you can't compare some magical, mythical, amazing schedule. PBC is better than the competition. Listen, I could care less if PBC, and you guys are like hung up with this promoter stuff. You know, PBC is better than Top Rank. Top Rank's better than this. DAZN, you know, Top Rank. Nobody cares. Nobody cares who promotes what. Yeah. All we want to see is fights. Why do you guys get so hung up in like on a promoter? I mean, that's the deal. I mean, you guys get so hung up.
Jump in when you're done.
I think
so hung up on a promoter.
The best fight there. He's not talking about the promoter. He's saying who's giving the best fight.
I'm a little bit salty. I'm a little bit salty at Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman and Sean Porter. I'm a little salty. I'm a little salty with those. I'm a little salty with those guys. But again, I'm an impatient guy. I can concede that point. Sometimes I just get too impatient. I want things yesterday.
Oh, Porter.
And I understand that. But the reality of the situation is, as I said, on paper, this schedule is not. I give this schedule honestly on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm going to be 100% honest here. I'm going to give this schedule a 7.5. I'm going to give this schedule a 7.5. And even though some of these fights I know who the winner's going to be, I think they're going to be entertaining and fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I understand, like I said, you can't put a guy in there tough after tough after tough after tough. You gotta mix in kind of a softer touch. You can't keep putting this, you'll burn a guy out that way. That's what Mickey Ward said when I interviewed Mickey Ward way back when. I asked him, I said, what's the biggest regret you had in your career? And he said, you know what I had? My biggest regret is I kept taking tough fight after tough fight after tough fight, back to back to back to back, and I burnt myself out. And these guys are kind of trying to do that too. The problem I have is when they're being interviewed, like, as I said earlier, at least I give Errol Spence credit. He's going to save Crawford, the best for last. He's giving Crawford props. Don't, like, when Sean Porter and Keith Thurman are being asked these questions and the way that they're answering, it's just so disingenuous. The things they're saying, it just kind of aggravates me a little bit listening to these guys talk, because they're all going around saying,
Beeb, can I jump in?
Let me just finish. They're all going around saying how they're the best and they're this and they're that. And then they're being asked questions and they're just making stuff up to be evasive. And it's kind of irritating. But I get it, but it's still irritating, Yes, Jason, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, PBC gave us Wilder versus Ortiz this year. They gave us Leo versus Mars too. They gave us Lara versus Hurd. That was the fucking fight of the year. I haven't seen a fight that fucking good all year. Lara versus Hurd. I mean, they gave us Danny versus Porter this year. Was that this year, right?
Yeah, but this is the problem with me, Jason. I'm greedy. I want all the I want more of that.
They should be giving us these fights because they have a wealth of talent over there.
But I'm greedy, Jason. I'm greedy. I want it all year round, every year. That's what I want. I just have high standards, Jason. But I understand.
It goes back to what Beeb said earlier about manager mentality and promotional mentality.
Let me finish. Eric, let me finish, please. Beeb, you were saying Aram does everything that makes sense. I mean, Zurdo Ramirez's whole fucking career has been a waste. I know Mexican fans that tell me his fucking career is a whole waste. What is he doing over there? He's not fighting anybody. Crawford,
Jason,
he fought Benavidez, who had one leg. Next, he's fighting Igis Kavalauskas, who fought on the undercard last night. That's why fucking Crawford was there, and to see Hooker. He was scouting his next opponent. I mean,
Jason,
that fight is coming up next. I mean, Aram said last week, the boxing scene, we're looking really hardly at Igis Kavalauskas. That guy's fucking horrible.
Jason.
And you were saying Heyman makes no sense and Aram makes all the sense. Aram's made a career out of putting on mismatches.
Jason, do you think that Bob Arum is a bad promoter? This guy's a Hall of Fame promoter. You may not like the guy. Right. You may question his morals. You may question his ethics. You may not like his personality, but the guy's good at what he does. You got to give this guy respect for how long he's been in the game and the roster of fighters that he's promoted over his career. The guy promoted Muhammad Ali, George Foreman.
But what does that have to do with now?
Because he's got the two best fighters in the world. He's got Terrence Crawford. Even to this day, he continues to create stars. Terrence Crawford is a star in Omaha. Lomachenko's a star on ESPN.
Yeah, Beeb, Loma versus Lawrence. Which other fight did they have? Was a top level fight this year? Loma and Lawrence. That's it.
They don't have the roster. They don't have the roster.
But you just said he's such a great promoter. Who's
He's a great promoter because he continues to have top. He has arguably the two best fighters in the world under his promotional banner. That something has to be said for that.
Most guys on Top Rank's payroll, according to most hacks on Top Rank's payroll.
You don't think Terrence Crawford and Lomachenko are two of the best fighters in the world?
They're in the top 10, but I don't have them 1 and 2. Not at all.
I said arguably.
Just because, okay, hey, Robbie, Dan Raphael goes to Adam's mansion, sits under blankets, and watches fights with him. He's not fucking biased? Are you fucking kidding me?
Well, he can do whatever he wants to do. I mean, what does that have?
Biased to Al Heyman. You're that way every
because
week.
He gave us the best fights this year. I just named the best fights. Do you want me? Can you name any top level fight besides Loma and Linares in 2018? Can you? I'm waiting for any of you guys to name one. You guys keep telling me I'm biased, but you won't name any fucking fights.
Who is your 1 and 2,
what
Jason?
Type of shit is that?
Who's your 1 and 2?
Who's my 1 and 2?
Yeah, who's your 1 and 2?
Is, I give 1 to Canelo. I give 2 to AJ. I give 3. I'll give 3 to Usyk. I'll give 4 to Spence. I'll give 5. I'll give 5 to Crawford. I'll give.
All right, so
he hasn't active,
so Canelo and AJ are his top 2. Canelo and AJ are his top 2.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know.
People are criticizing Aram, right? People are criticizing Aram, right? In the chat, people are saying that Aram makes fights that don't make sense. But see, Aram doesn't have the roster. He's the one that's saying he wants to go across the street and make. He wants Lomachenko. He's told them, I want to make the Lomachenko fight with Garcia. He said he wants to make the Crawford Spence fight. But the thing is these guys don't want to co-promote. He's willing to co-promote. He's willing to make the fights that make the most sense, but the other side is not. That's the difference. So Aram does not have the roster. So what does he do? Aram's had a history of working with people he's hated. He's hated Don King for his whole career. But when it made sense to make a big fight, he'll sit down with the devil and have a cup of coffee and sit in a bunch of flames with the devil to make a fight if it makes sense, if he can make money with it.
He worked with the PBC with Pacquiao and Mayweather.
Heyman was making fights with Golden Boy while they were suing him in court. And the judge said, you idiots are suing him and he's making fights with you. Did you forget that shit?
What fight was that?
Said, you idiots are suing this man and he's making fights with you.
What fight did he make? What fight was that, Jason? Just refresh my memory.
You're the fucking expert. How do I have to tell you?
Which fight was that?
Which fight was it?
What fight did he make? What fight did he make with Golden Boy when he was suing him?
Canelo, Chavez, or whatever. I don't know which one it was. The judge said he made Canelo.
That was after the lawsuit. The lawsuit was settled. The lawsuit was settled when Chavez fought Canelo. The lawsuit was settled. What? That's incorrect. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not even saying you're wrong. I'm just asking you. I'm just curious. I'm just curious to know what the fight was.
Can we end this?
Bloody elbow. The judge told the fucking guys, this guy made fights with you. How can you say he's not working with anybody? You're coming into court and suing this guy, and he's made fucking multiple fights with you. You can look this up on Bloody Elbow. There's a testimony on the fucking article.
What is it? But still, you're saying that he was being sued or he was suing somebody, and then he was still making fights with him. So doesn't that prove he's willing to work with everybody?
Bob Arum has been a part of more co-promoted events than any promoter in the history of the sport. He's been involved in more co-promoted events. He did Linares, like he did a Golden Boy co-promotion. Linares and Lomachenko. When was the last co-promoted event that Al Heyman has done with another promoter?
This is Gary Russell Jr. Spence versus Brooke. This was fucking just recently. What are you talking about?
Spence versus Brooke?
Talking and you don't have any facts.
Spence versus Brooke. How many years ago was that? How many years ago was that?
Gary Russell JoJo was like 5 months ago. What are you talking about? Spence versus Brooke was last year.
Spence versus Brooke was not last year. Spence versus Brooke was not last year.
Yes, it was 2017.
No, it wasn't. It was not in 2017. Look it up right now. And JoJo was ranked number 1. The only time that Heyman will make fights is when he's forced to because the other promoter has the number 1 ranked contender. He's only done it when he's been forced to do it when someone's been ranked number 1 on the other side. That's the only time he's done it.
Spence versus Brook was 2017. You're wrong again, just like you were about the pound thing. Just let it go. You're not always right. I mean, you can't always.
I know I'm not always right.
Yeah. So this
Spence versus Brook. When was that?
5/27 of 17.
2/17. So it was a year and a half ago. I stand corrected. I said it was 2 years ago. You said it was a year ago. We were both wrong. It was a year and a half ago.
Porter versus Brook also, Beeb. I mean, Heyman's made so many.
Okay, was Brook ranked number 1 by the IBF when that fight took place? It was a Porter. Was Spence? Excuse me. Was Spence ranked number 1?
Spence was the mandatory. Yes, Spence was the mandatory.
Spence was the mandatory.
Brook was also the mandatory for Sean Porter.
The only time he does it is when he's forced to do it when the other guy's the mandatory. I stand corrected. It was in 2017. I apologize. See, I can admit when I'm wrong. It was a year and a half ago.
Fury become the mandatory? When did Fury become mandatory? What are you talking about? Come on. Why you got to be the lazy lies, man? I mean, Brazil was not.
Okay, so that's one co-promoted event this year. That's one.
No, that's Oscar. Where Oscar and then co-promoted. Oscar was at the PBC event, sitting with Espinoza. They were all there. I saw them on national TV. I don't know how you missed it.
When was the Jojo Diaz fight?
Hey, Beeb, how many fights did UFC co-promote this year? They're the best thing
Zero.
in sports.
Zero.
Exactly. Because
what's the best fight that can be made at welterweight? What's the best fight that can be made at welterweight right now? Spence Crawford, correct?
Yeah, but Terrence Crawford is fighting Igor Kavalauskas next. Bob Arum just said that last night on Boxing Scene. So why would they be fighting?
So can we agree that Heyman only co-promotes when the other guy's the mandatory and he's forced to do it? Can we agree on that?
Arum and Heyman both only co-promote when he wants it.
Arum has a history of working with people he despises. He hated Don King. He had a problem with Oscar. He's had issues with Heyman, and he would go and try to make fights with Heyman, and Heyman won't make them.
Beeb, isn't Heyman making Wilder versus?
Can I ask you a question?
He's not forced to make that fight.
He doesn't answer questions. Yeah, he doesn't.
Can I ask you a question? When you watch baseball, do you like only the National League and you don't watch the American League? When you watch basketball, do you watch the Eastern Conference and you don't watch the Western Conference? Don't you want to see everything? Don't you want to see everything?
Right.
PBC. I just told you Porter doesn't want to fight Spence.
Tyson Fury was not the mandatory for Wilder. Okay? That is correct. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying he is.
Nobody said, nobody said that Fury was not the mandatory.
No one said Tyson Fury is the mandatory.
Right.
And yes, that is a co-promoted event because he's going to be working with Frank Warren on that. So that is a co-promoted event.
We know why it's co-promoted.
Wilder Ortiz was not a co-promotion. Ortiz was a PBC fighter when Wilder fought him.
Yep.
That's.
I'm just saying it was a. I think
Ortiz. What you need is wrong. He's saying Ortiz was not a Heyman fighter. He was a Heyman fighter.
Yeah, he was.
I never said Ortiz was the mandatory for Wilder. I never said that. So what are you trying to say? I never said Ortiz was the mandatory. Ortiz was a Heyman fighter.
Jason, we're going to move ahead, man. We're going to move ahead, man. Thank you for calling.
Hey, let me make one last point.
All right.
Goodbye.
You made a lot. He's been on here for a while now.
Jesus Christ. He drives. I want to drink every time he calls.
All right. Area code 805. You're live.
Oh, poor Nacho. How are you going to follow that up?
Honestly, I can't.
I think it'll be pretty easy. I don't know.
I can. You know?
Yeah. Bring some sense to this, will you please?
Hey, Bayside. I know you're in the chat. If you, why don't you call in? I can't. We can't just sit here and answer questions on the chat. You want to talk? Call in. Go ahead, Nacho. I'm sorry.
Do it before 9 o'clock, or the phones are closed.
As far as the fights that the PBC main, I agree with you guys. I mean, I get that they have the biggest roster and they made some solid, some decent fights, but at the same time, they should be making better quality fights because a lot of those fights on that on that ledger that they put out, I really don't think a lot of them are all that great. A lot of them
when you have over 200,
let him talk, Robbie. Let him talk. It's his call.
That's
his call,
thing,
Robbie.
dude.
Let him talk.
Give me a break.
Yeah, I mean, that's not saying much, to be honest. I mean, to me, the only fights on there that are even remotely competitive are the Uzcategui Plant fight, the Santa Cruz Flores, the Ugas Porter, and maybe the Garcia Granados. That's about it.
I think Santa Cruz is going to blow out Flores. I think Flores has been in too many fights. I think that's a cupcake for Leo. I don't know what that. If you notice, Gary Russell's not even on the damn schedule.
Yeah, the biggest problem with him is the fact that his hands are just terrible, Robbie. That's why he doesn't fight more than once a year.
I know.
So unfortunately, that's who he is at this point. He's a guy who's going to fight once a year, and you just have to live with it, which is unfortunate because he's a really talented fighter. But the problem is that they can't get him more than one fight a year because his hands won't hold up. So, I mean, he is who he is at this point.
Well, then I have to ask, if you got bad hands, why are you in the business?
Yeah. As far as the fights this weekend, the Hooker Salcedo fight, I was surprised at that one because considering how bad Hooker looked against Flanagan, and I thought he got kind of a gift decision on the road in that fight, I didn't expect him to put up the performance that he did against Salcedo. So I got to give the guy credit. He went into his hometown and he took him out. I honestly don't know what they were talking about in Salcedo's corner because they didn't once really tell him to go to Hooker's body for the most part. They just kind of kept telling him that he should keep doing what he was doing, and I didn't understand.
No, the instructions in his corner sucked.
And I honestly think that cost him the fight, and it's unfortunate, but it cost him the fight, and that's why he lost. And you give the credit to Hooker, but Hooker is being co-promoted by Eddie Hearn. I think Beeb. That's why he was in there after the fight was over.
Yeah, so, that's what I thought.
Do you agree with me, Nacho, that he's going to be fighting Jose Ramirez next?
Honestly, I would not be surprised if that's the next fight that gets made because it's a unification fight, and with the other two belts being in the WBSS, there's nobody else that he can fight really in the meantime except for Jose Ramirez. So,
and do you also agree that it'll probably be in Fresno?
More than likely, I do because Hooker has not ever sold any tickets in his own hometown.
Right.
So I have a feeling he's going to have to go on the road and fight Ramirez in Fresno more than likely.
Yep.
So,
and that'll be a good solid 15,000 guaranteed.
Yeah, for sure. They're definitely going to sell tickets in that place. They always
do.
13 to 14,000. Yeah, 13 to 14,000. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And it's I get that kid is like legit, and he seems to have a lot of talent, and he's really good. He blew out Toronto like no one else had, but I think these people are getting a little ahead of themselves, acting like he's ready to be a top 10, top 15 welterweight right now.
Nacho, I've seen him on Showbox 3 times now, and he's blown away everybody they put him in against. Don't you agree they have to step up the level of competition? Maybe not maybe not top 10, but don't you have to fight somebody, say, in the top 15, or maybe a former champion or something?
Exactly, and that's why I was thinking, Robbie, I think if he's going to step up to that level, I'd like to see him fight a guy who's a top 20 to top 30, like a Louis Collazo or a Devin Alexander or an Andre Berto, somebody of that ilk, somebody that was a champion or a contender.
That's where I was going when I said that earlier. I wasn't saying, okay, let's put him in the top 10 and let's see what he does. No, put him in against somebody who can teach him something and make him go some rounds, because they've scheduled him for 10-round fights, the last 3 fights, and the longest he's ever gone is 6. I want to see him in against somebody that can make him go 8 or 10 rounds.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of those guys would definitely do that. I think they would be crafty enough to give him different looks and make him go some rounds for sure. So
no, that's
the best bet.
That's what I was getting at earlier.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I'm on the same boat. The kid's not ready for a top 10 guy, but I like to see him fight a top 20, top 30 guy next for sure.
Yeah, no, you can't keep putting him in against these kind of opposition, because he's just going to blow right through them. You need to, whoever his management is, needs to get on the phone and start recruiting some guys and make his schedule a lot tougher in 2019 and see if he's as special as he looks.
Yeah, for sure. As far as the other card, the DAZN card, I called it last week, guys, on the chat. I said that I thought Jarrell Miller was going to come in right at about 315, and I was only about a quarter of a pound off. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe that he came in at 315.
I cannot get excited about somebody who's 315 pounds possibly being Anthony Joshua's next opponent, because Joshua is going to take advantage of him. I mean, I realize he fights bad at 280, but is somebody going to realistically sit here and tell me that he's going to be heavyweight champion at over 300 pounds?
Yeah, I'd be shocked if he honestly beat Anthony Joshua at 315. There's no way. I mean, he struggled with the guy last night. Last night, that guy didn't really have anything, and he just basically, was in there giving him problems. So I hate to imagine what he's going to look like against Anthony Joshua, who's a hell of a lot better fider than the last two guys.
Nacho, look at it realistically. On April 13th, in front of 90,000 people in Wembley Stadium, could you see him weighing 310, 315, 320, walking into that ring and giving him 12 hard rounds? I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't either. Honestly, I don't. I think the only way he'd have an opportunity is if he was under 300. If he came in at maybe 290, maybe you give him a shot at that point. But I'm not buying this. Like at 315, he feels better than he feels at 280. Like that's
he's crazy. Yeah, I heard that too.
Awful.
Yeah, I'm just not buying it. I honestly think it's like Eric said earlier. Jarrell Miller is the next Chris Arreola.
Yeah,
he's just beating guys based on his talent and his size. But eventually it's going to come back to haunt him because he doesn't take the sport as seriously as he should. He should be in a lot better shape than he is. And right now he's just coasting based on talent alone. And until he
I think Eric dropped. See if he's still around. Eric's controlling the switchboard, guys. So gotta see if he can get back on. I think he dropped off. Yeah, Eric dropped. He has the switchboard with all the callers on it. Let me see if I can get a hold of him. I can't hear you, Eric, but I'm still on here. See if you can get back on, Eric. You should be able to get back on. Just click back on the link. Let me see where we're at. So we talked about the schedule. We talked about so Pacquiao Broner presser set for Monday and Tuesday. Yeah, so it looks like the Mayweather fight is back on with the Japanese guy there, Tension. And what else is left on here? Talked about. See if I can get Eric back on here. I'm going to call him to see what happened.
Who knows?
All right, Beeb, can you hear me?
Maybe he's got to get.
It looks like your mic is muted, Beeb.
Oh yeah, you're back. You're back on now.
Okay, great, great.
There
Sorry
you go.
about that.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
Me and Nacho are holding down the fort here. That's okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry, everyone on YouTube. We had some dead space there.
Nacho?
Yeah, just real quick. There was a couple of fights that you guys haven't talked about, and they were on this weekend. Kermit Lajaraga, this guy from Spain who is an undefeated welterweight prospect. He blew out Frankie Gavin in 4 rounds. He took him apart really easily. But the story behind that fight was pretty interesting. Frankie Gavin apparently has this fear of flying. He doesn't like to get on airplanes. So when the fight was made, apparently Gavin and his trainer had agreed that instead of flying, they were going to take a ferry from England to Spain. And they were supposed to take it last Sunday so that they'd be there with enough time for him to cut weight and get ready for the fight. And apparently his trainer bailed out on him at the last minute, and he wasn't able to get to Spain until Wednesday, and he ended up missing weight by 5 pounds in their fight. Man. But Lajaraga still took the fight anyway, and he basically blew him out in 4 rounds. He took him apart really easily, which was pretty impressive. I didn't think he was going to do that to him, and so I was surprised. And he's with Lou DiBella. So they said they're going to try to bring him over next year and fight in the U.S. So I'd like to see him eventually get into the mix with somebody at welterweight because the guy has punching power and he's tough. He reminds me of being a bigger version of Lucas Matisse. So he should make for some entertaining fights. So we'll see, how that goes. And then the Rosales Arias fight. And then Rosado Arias fight. I mean, I'm sorry. I thought if Rosado had anything left, he would have beat Arias really easily, especially since he fought the better competition throughout his career. And he's gotten robbed in some of the fights that he's taken. I thought he should have beat Arias last night, and it was really disappointing to see him struggle to beat a guy like that. And at this point, I really don't see what, other than him being an opponent, he's good for. You know, like he should have beat Arias last night.
Yeah, he should have.
And I just think that he's basically an opponent at this point, and I don't really see him, you know, being relevant at 160. So we'll see. You know. And then really quick this week, the fights this weekend.
Okay, quick,
There's not
real
much
quick.
on the schedule, but you guys didn't even talk about Pascal and Bivol. I think Dimitri Bivol is going to beat Pascal in about 7 rounds.
No, we mentioned that fight.
I think he's going to blow him away. We talked about it when we talked about the schedule, but that fight ain't going to be worth anything, and that'll be HBO's Swan Song and good riddance.
Well, actually, it's not, Robbie. The Swan Song is the Breakers Chocolatito card on December 8th.
Oh, I didn't realize. Oh, they added another one. I didn't realize.
Yeah, they added
that.
one more fight, so that's officially the Swan Song.
All right.
All right, guys.
Good call.
Yeah, thanks. I'll talk to you guys next week.
All right.
All right, man. Thank you, sir. All right. So, let's see here. All right, then we're back on. Now, you guys will notice I don't have my camera on YouTube. We're having some technical difficulties over here, as usual, but that's okay. You can still hear me, and you can still hear Ringside Robert's lovely voice. So there you go.
Yep.
All right. Pacquiao Bronner press conference set for Monday and Tuesday. Press conference is set up for Monday and Tuesday. So they should be announcing this, and Beeb alluded to it earlier. It's not a Fox card, so that's why it was not announced on the schedule. And somebody in the chat actually brought up a really good point. They said that the Fox schedule, you know, the Showtime schedule has not come out yet either. So I don't know. I guess they'll do a big presser for that. But a lot of big names on the Fox card that are, you know, fighting not big name competition. So we'll see.
Okay.
What could have very well been the train wreck of the week this week. Floyd Mayweather showed up on TMZ this week and said that the fight on December 31st against Tenshin Nasukawa is on. But there will be no kicks allowed. So it'll be 3-minute rounds. And he said numerous times in the interview that it's just an exhibition, nothing serious. I mean, does anybody really care about this? I mean, honestly, I don't think anybody does.
I'm going to be doing more important things on New Year's Eve.
What are you going to be doing on New Year's Eve, Robert?
I'm not sure, but it's not going to be watching Floyd Mayweather.
And the WBA will not strip Manuel Charr, I don't think. The WBA has suspended Manuel Charr for 6 months after testing positive for 2 anabolic steroids on a failed drug test. Now, we heard this we had heard the story and everything. We'd heard he failed the drug test. Suleiman came on the show the last couple of weeks and was asking us what's going on with Manuel Charr. This is, and he also said, we've heard this, and Beeb, you've heard this too, right? How his B sample was not positive.
Yeah.
It was a negative B sample. That being said, I could not confirm that anywhere. But what I did confirm is that Charr's first and second sample tested positive. This was right off of ESPN. Tests were administered by VADA. It was thought that the fight between Miller and Dinu would be for the WBA regular title, but that wasn't the case. So it actually sounds like they won't strip him. I mean, how can he test positive, get suspended for 6 months, and not get stripped? I mean, is that even I don't understand. Like,
say in my clip there, Eric, the WBA is a fucking idiot. Exactly.
Tyson Fury has added Freddie Roach to his corner as a cut man. Is this a good move, guys?
I guess to have another experience. Voice in the corner, but I've never known Freddie to work on a fighter's cuts. Normally when Freddie trains somebody, he's got somebody else doing that. So that'll be interesting.
Would you think? I think that they brought Freddie in just as another voice in the corner. The fact that he's a cut man is irrelevant. You know what I mean? That's what I think anyway. And I don't know if it hurts or helps him. I would like to see Teddy Atlas in the corner, but that's just my personal preference. You know.
No, we can't have him in the corner. He'll ruin everything.
Oh, guaranteed win.
He'll try to steal the stool.
Guaranteed win. Look what he did with Michael Moore. Guaranteed win. Not against George Foreman. I'm talking about Evander Holyfield.
Yeah, he lost the fight for him, and he made Bradley lose the Pacquiao fight.
There it is.
He's on a losing streak.
From this day, you'll be my new fool.
I love that clip.
Hello, Georgie.
Georgie.
Hey, what's happening, people?
What's up?
What's going on here, bro? How come we having all these fake news around and the real news don't pop up?
Well, you know, we do try to be fair and balanced here.
That's right. That's right. Very fair and balanced.
Oh, you know what time it is. I came to shit on Al Hamer, on Jason, on Wilder versus Fury, and talking about ticket sale, and I'm going economics numbers of niggas. So what's good? Well, how many they sold already?
Oh, hell, I don't know. I don't even care at this point.
So you guys care about the fight. I'm supposed to be the one who doesn't care. And I try to support. So what's the numbers?
I have no idea.
Who does? All right, so
tell me that this fight is 2 weeks away from going. This is a boxing show, and you guys don't care.
Well, look,
what that will be?
I don't know how. I don't know how you're going to convince people to buy tickets for a fight when they're that expensive. Right after Thanksgiving, I don't know.
But I thought the tickets went down and then went up, then went back down.
I don't know. Eric, what do you know about ticket sales for Fury Wilder?
Everything I'm hearing is not good. They're not, but you know, again, nothing substantial.
Somebody
but
asked Jason in the shack, and somebody.
Yeah, Jason, how many tickets are Fury and Wilder selling here? They, you know. Listen, I don't think it gets 20,000 people, and that's what that arena holds, I think.
Can we bring Jason back on at the end of the show?
Absolutely. He's asking to come on at the end of the show.
I love when he comes on.
Got some mathematics in here.
Jason's like my son. He thinks I hate him, but I try to like take care of him like he's my son. I'm trying to steer him on the right path.
Jason hard to get his own YouTube channel.
Please, Robbie.
He was banned. He was banned off of Twitter. You know.
We're branching out. Listen, what happened with that expensive fucking?
Bayside again. You got something to say? Call in.
Huh?
Yeah. I think that fight will happen, Georgie. But according to Earl Spence, he's going to save the best for last.
But that was some good publicity right there. That's
yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Yeah, that's the move. I don't know.
I like what Earl did. I think that was good.
You think these people talking in the bag and they really the fight is really there? Just find us and know, because I mean, what the fuck Earl doing that neck of the woods?
I don't know, but hey, that, you know, it's a good sign when you see the two of them together.
It's a good thing, yeah. Hopefully something sparked by 2019, because if he fight Mikey early, that means maybe at the end of the summer we can see that.
Yeah. Hey,
if it's not like old fucking.
That's the best fight to make in the welterweight division. So.
And you can tell those two want to fight each other too. They're not, you know, they want to fight.
And Eric, you could definitely put that in Jerry World, and that would definitely sell tickets.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. People are asking how much the DAZN card sold last night and everything like that. Listen, we're talking about a heavyweight championship of the world. That's why everybody's concerned about the ticket sales. Right. The guy who should be the biggest star out there. All right. That's why it's a concern. That's why people are talking about ticket sales.
40-0,
you boneheads.
Knockouts, man. Knocked out
We're talking about the linear heavyweight
right.
championship of the what? Not even 10 heads? Not even 10,000 heads. What the fuck is going on here, man?
Georgie killing him, baby.
The fighting Pryor Boston, man.
Yeah, Beantown in the house, baby. I'm gonna say something real quick though. Go ahead, Georgie. I'll let you finish the call. I'll let Georgie finish the call.
Go ahead, brother. I want to listen to you. I'm always listening to you. Go ahead, brother.
The one thing I like about this is one thing that I don't know if people are thinking about when this Spence. I want to change gears a little bit here. Spence and Mikey Garcia on pay-per-view, Fox pay-per-view. The one beautiful thing about Fox, I have to say, they're good at really promoting things. Like people will watch NFL on Fox. So while they're watching the NFL on Fox, if Fox does commercials for Spence and Mikey, this thing can get a lot of traction. So I'm really highly anticipating this Garcia Spence fight because I want to see if people really take to this fight. I think they could push this fight and really sell this fight to the masses.
Well, buddy, I cannot agree with you more, man. Keep on preaching. Love the comment, Beeb Enterprise. And yo, somebody got to tell out there in the chat, tell Heyman, allegedly, to stop hacking the show. We can be having that. We need the FBI, the CIA, the radical Trump. Let's make Ringside Reporter great again.
Well, Donald Trump was here yesterday, and I asked him to look into the situation, so we'll see what can be done.
There you go, Robbie, with the connections. My dude, connect and plug here. Listen, I don't have a lot to say. I already hated who needed to hate. See you next week. There's going to be a hating fucking train with me until December 1st. So everybody out there support my hate and give the thumbs up. I'm out.
All right, see you, Georgie. Thanks.
All right, Georgie. All right, and so Beeb, you want to bring Jason on?
Who else is in the queue?
Let's go ahead and bring him on.
Is anyone else?
We're going to wrap up at 9. So
all right, we can bring him back.
All right, Jason, you're online. What do you need?
Hey Beeb, what happened? What happened to Aram saying last night? Don't listen to Mikey and Spence. They're not fighting. Manny versus Bruner is.
Bob was wrong. I was wrong. I'm glad. See, this is what we got to do.
We just told you about this. This is what you came on for. Is this seriously what you came on for? This is the same question you asked him in the chat.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Let him respond. Let him respond.
He did. You douche. This is seriously why you called in?
I was 100%
what you had to say.
I was 100% wrong, and Bob Byrne was 100% wrong. I dared them to make this fight, and I got it done because I dared them. Yeah.
Beeb Enterprises made this fight.
Who?
I dared them to make this fight.
These fights were made. I told you 2 weeks ago these fights were happening. What are you talking about?
And they were signed very recently. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I was 120% wrong. How hard is that? How hard is that? Now, can you do that when you're wrong? I'm trying to teach you, son.
Nobody's repeating Aram's lies. It was his opinion.
That was my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I was negative.
Wow. Okay.
I was negative on it because I didn't like the fact that they had rumors about the December 1st card about Abner Mares and Davis and Badu Jack and everyone being on it, and they turned out to be rumors. I just didn't want them to do the same thing again with these fights. That's why, because they have a track record of saying fights are going to happen and they don't always happen.
Myers versus Tank is on Manny's undercard, Beeb. It's on Tank's on Broner's undercard.
I haven't heard that yet. You
just heard that from me first too. You heard that from me just now, like you heard about Thurman.
I haven't heard that yet. I haven't heard that yet at all.
I told you that first, and you didn't listen. Believe me, you believed the lying fucking FBI investigator Rat Aram. You believed him, not me.
I can't imagine why you were banned from Twitter.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to say Abel Sanchez, the biggest fraud in boxing, has had a really bad year, and he deserves it. He acts like he's the best trainer. Most of his fucking fighters just stand there and eat punches. That's pretty much what he.
Why are you so bitter?
Why are you so bitter?
Why are you so bitter? But why do you hate so much? Why do you have so much hate in your heart? Can I explain to you something about hate? Hate does nothing to the people you direct it at. It eats away at you. Hate eats away at you. It does nothing to the people you're hating. It eats away at you. Son, what are you doing to yourself, son?
Sanchez said Charlo doesn't deserve the GGG fight. What kind of bullshit is that?
I don't like that.
You fight Bonez, and then you guys will fight Bass Charlo for fighting fucking anybody. And then GGG is over here saying, I don't want to fight Charlo. And then GGG gets no criticism. Fucking retards like Robbie will suck with GGG's balls and bash Charlo when GGG and his trainer saying,
hey, it's a family show. You can't say that.
You have to deal with. I mean,
well,
Jesus
Jason,
Christ.
Triple G is in no position to say anything now because he has nothing
yes,
to
he is, Robbie.
with.
You stop making excuses like a fucking box who's watching. Okay? I mean, he can fight. Fuck out of here. Robbie. That's why you hate Heyman. I get it now.
Because of what now? Why does he hate Heyman?
He's Bill O'Reilly and Glenn Beck's love child. That's what he is, and I get it now.
I can't stand Beck. What are you talking about?
You worship racist scumbags like that. I know your type, Robbie.
Wow, you're going way off path here, kid.
That's why you worship Steve Kim.
I've never been racist in my life.
How many tickets, Jason?
Kim does his bash black fighters.
No, he doesn't. Where are you getting that? Yeah, ESPN just hired him. So
Jason, who are you, Don Lemon? Are you Don Lemon from CNN?
So
are you Don Lemon from
called him ghetto trash?
Steve Kim retweets people calling Shields ghetto trash all the time on his fucking Twitter timeline.
Clarissa Shields.
And even Eddie Hearn last night said she is great for boxing. I love the way she talks. And you got fucking retards like Robbie saying she's got a bad personality. Fucking
She does have a bad personality. Nobody cares about her.
You worship Tyson. You worship Tyson, and you talk shit about Clarissa.
Somebody's got a bad personality doesn't make me a racist. Get the fuck out of here with that.
Yeah, you do. You watch Fox News, you're a racist. That's what racist people are.
Who are you? Who are you, Don Lemon? You sound like Don Lemon from CNN right now.
You know, idiotic that sounds because you watch Fox News. You're a racist. What's the matter with you, son?
That's what the neo-Nazis say. Our favorite.
That's what CNN. That's what Don Lemon from CNN says. That's something Don Lemon would say.
Jesus Christ.
Don Lemon said that we have a white racist terrorist. He was right.
Don Lemon was voted the worst journalist of the year in 2014 and 2015.
Wasn't he the guy that was caught lying or something like that?
Don Lemon is one of the worst journalists in the world.
Don Lemon said we have like a white terrorist problem, and the next week he had 3 mass killings about white terrorists. So he was pretty right.
Jason, you're white. You don't like white people? You don't like yourself? Are you a terrorist because you're white? You're calling yourself a terrorist because you're white?
Extremism in our country.
Why are you shaming yourself? Why are you shaming yourself? You're white.
No.
You don't like yourself? He doesn't even like himself.
All right, come on. It's almost 9 o'clock.
I'm sorry. He doesn't even like himself. I can't even believe that.
Self-hatred.
Self-hatred, low self-esteem.
What the hell?
You have a low self-esteem. You don't even like yourself.
I know we got to be nice to our callers, but what the fuck is his problem? I'm not racist. I never have been racist in my life.
He's giving you the CNN talking points. Don't worry about it.
The CNN talking points.
Those are the CNN talking points. If you don't agree with everything that CNN says, you're racist. It's okay.
That's a trip.
That's the playbook.
I've never been racist in my damn life. Get out of here.
He's just trying to get your goat, Robert.
Well, it worked.
He's doing a good job of it.
That's something I take seriously. I've never been that way to anybody.
Fox News.
And an idiot.
And
CNN's any better than Fox. Please.
What's that, Robert?
We're here for boxing. We're not here for politics.
I hear it.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
That's right. That's right. That'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. And as always, you can catch Robert on Twitter at Ringside Robert or call Ringside Robbie's Corner at 917-259-1810 and leave him a message. You can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at jhabib1 and find his YouTube channel at beatingtheoddswithbeeb.com. I'm at Ringside 73, and everybody have a good holiday. Whether it's Thanksgiving or whatever. So we will see you next week.
And Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury in 2 weeks. Let's pray that they can sell more than 7,000 tickets for Jason's sake. We don't want him to cry. I don't have Jason in tears.
He's going to do that anyway.
All right.
Thank you for using Blog Talk.
Good holiday, everyone.
Goodbye.